His Excellency, the former governor of Delta State, my leader, His Excellency, Senator McAfee, former governor. Again, I don't want to say Delta because people have already said that. But the one thing I will say, I've never had the opportunity of thanking you personally. During our campaign for President Musa Yar'Adua, we visited your state and you hosted us. And I can say Lulu was at that hosting. It was the best hosting in the entire federation. I must also use this opportunity to, I'm so glad that he's here, Chief Benjamin Elue, Your Honor. If you want to see a good example of loyalty and friendship, just watch Chief James Onanife Ibori and Chief Elue. We want to be like you. I'm not going to waste too much time on the other protocols because I'm now in the private sector, so you can't hold me responsible any longer for protocols. I didn't know I was going to be asked to speak, but I think I need to shed some light. I don't know if it's in the book because I haven't seen a copy of the book. But just briefly, let me explain how Clem and I met. I was appointed Commissioner of Finance by His Excellency. I had just come from England. I'd been out of the country for decades. I was looking for a special assistant, somebody to help me, and that was the title at the time. For those of you who operate in the political space in Delta and who have held political office, you will confirm that your choice of people to work with you is not necessarily yours alone. In fact, there are some people that actually think they have your choice than you yourself. And usually decisions, many factors come into the decision-making process, but ethnicity is a major input. But when I was looking for an essay, when I asked for resumes, I noticed that all the essays that were being recommended to me happened to come from where I come from. And I told them, I said, look, I'm not looking for somebody that comes from where I come from. I'm looking for the most competent person available. And after reviewing the CVs I'd been presented with, Clem stood out by miles. Now, I had not met him at this point, so this is strictly on paper. But I went through the process. I said, this looks like the best, most qualified person. And I said I'd like to meet with him. And I met with Clem. Again, Clem, I don't know if all of this is in your book. And when I met with Clem, we had a general discussion. And it was clear to me that this is somebody that I could work with. I remember asking him a question, and he looked at me and laughed. I don't know if you remember, Clem. I said, do you know how to use Excel? And he found it so ridiculous that I could ask him that question, but he was also diplomatic enough and polite enough to say, smile and just say, yes, I know how to use it very well. I said, okay. And that's how we started working together. At the time, there was a lot of criticism, so to speak, that why would you go and pick somebody from Delta North to be your essay when you could have picked someone from Delta Central? And I just said, well, he was the most qualified for the job. And that's how we ended up working together for several years. And then I remember, I think after our first tenure, I went on holiday. I got a phone call from him. Clem, please correct me if I'm wrong. I got a phone call from him saying he had been nominated, or he was being considered, I can't remember the details, to be made a commissioner. But he knows me, but several people had told him, have you discussed it with your boss? He found it ridiculous that he had to discuss it with me, and he knew I would find it ridiculous that he would have to call me to ask. But he did. He said to fulfill all righteousness, he did. And he called me and said, what do I think? I said, I would be honored to have you as a colleague in cabinet. And we then worked as colleagues again in cabinet for several years. At some point, I left government, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Subsequently, I joined the Yar'Adua campaign, and eventually, His Excellency won the nomination of the party, and then subsequently the election. He became president, and I think about a year later, I was abroad, and it's important I emphasize that fact. I wasn't here. I was abroad. I got a phone call from the presidency saying the president wanted to see me. Long story, I got appointed principal secretary to the president. As soon as I was appointed, obviously the next thing I had to do was to appoint someone to deputize for me. There was no question about who it would be. I called Clem. I said, they've given us another appointment. Clem is here, so he can dispute anything I'm saying if it's not correct. They've given us another appointment. Please come. Now, for anyone that has dealt with the bureaucracy at the federal level, you will also understand that things don't just happen. It takes time for things to happen. So even though I'd earmarked Clem to deputize for me, it took several weeks. Am I correct? It took several weeks, if not months, before he was officially appointed. Notwithstanding, from the very first day he came, we were working together. He was working without no appointment letter. We were working until very late hours of the night. I remember at some point there was some friction with the office of the SGF because a lot of files were coming through my office that ordinarily should go through their office, and we were churning out the files in days compared to weeks. It was taking them in the SGF's office. And the only reason I was able to do that at the time was because I had Clem beside me. I remember at some point, because of how efficient our office was at the time, they took away the computers. They said there were viruses on all the computers, and they took them away. We got to the office, no more desktops on our office table. We knew the game that was being played, but Clem had a laptop, I had a laptop. So, and they took away our staff. So just both of us, for about 2 to 3 weeks, we were staying in the office till 1 a.m., just working on our laptops. Clem never complained once about the amount of work we were doing. I'm just saying all of this to confirm what you listened to earlier when the summaries were done about Clem. He's a man of courage, strong moral turpitude. He doesn't suffer fools gladly also. Our working combination worked because we both had similar ideologies. And that's why we were able to work so good together. I'd also like to summarize by saying, today is unique in the sense that he's decided to do his autobiography. When I got the message that he was writing an autobiography and he wanted to launch it, my first impression was why. And the reason why I asked why in my head was for a simple reason: the country is not yet done with Clement Ofuani. He still has a lot more to offer. But he already said himself that there will be a part 2 of his autobiography. Again, it shows the foresight that he has. I want to, on his behalf, thank everybody that has come from far and wide today to witness this occasion. It's a great honor to him, but also to those of us that are his close friends and associates. Thank you very much.